All right, what's up, everybody? We are back here again for week number 13 of Pete's Power Rankings. Yes, I'm going through, I'm watching 99% of all these games. I'm taking notes, keeping tabs, ranking all 32 teams 1 through 32. Thanksgiving has come and gone, and we are now into the deep stretches of the NFL schedule. Just 5 or 6 games remaining for everybody out there. It's been one heck of a ride, and it feels like we've cemented those top tier teams. It feels like teams 8 through 1, any one of those teams can go on and win a Super Bowl possibly. But after that, it's a whole lot of crap out there. I'm not sure, but some of these teams are getting hot at the right times. They're going to find themselves in the postseason. But let's remember, this is the power rankings, not the standings. But let's hop into it. Our bottom tier teams 32 through 23. Okay, Carolina just fired their head coach, Frank Reich, out of there. David Tepper seems to be an impulsive owner. 2 head coaches in 2 years, paying out a ton of money to those coaches. Maybe it isn't a bad gig. You get paid even if you get fired, but they got to rebuild this whole thing. He apparently meddled, made that Bryce Young pick. It's looking bad if CJ Stroud is lighting up the league like he has. They need an offensive line. They're terrible. New England shanking a 35-yard field goal to lose to get them in prime position to get a franchise quarterback. Peak Belichick move right there. Mac Jones finally benched. Bailey Zappi, the guy, sure, we'll figure it out. Commanders, awful. No secondary. Rowboat Ron's got to be the next guy. Go him or Staley. Can't stand it. The Jets, Tim Boyle, we talk about the Hail Mary. How about the Hail Mary? Throwing a pick six on a Hail Mary. Hilarious. The Jets are a dumpster fire. God bless the Jets. Arizona housed by the Rams at home. Game was kind of close early. It felt like Arizona was going to hang with them. Not great. Not great. Getting absolutely the teeth kicked in by this team. The Giants, Tommy DeVito. Tommy DeVito, not the worst quarterback in the NFL. I know it's the Patriots. I know they only scored 10 points, but they've won 2 in a row. Look at Tommy DeVito. Look at the New York Football Giants, and he's got a real matzah to him. The Tennessee Titans, you beat Carolina by 7. Whoop-de-freaking-do. Will Levis just not it, I guess. I don't know. He was so good in his first start and a half, it felt like, but he's just kind of just a guy out there, so whatever. Chicago, they win. They don't score a touchdown. Justin Fields is gone. They need to rebuild this team. They still own the number 1 pick thanks to Carolina. They're going to have another top 10 pick. They're going to need it to rebuild this team, but the defense is playing really well. They're stopping the run, and they're turning over teams. 5 turnovers against the Vikings. Vegas, the Antonio Pierce mojo. He's not going to get that interim tag moved. He's going to be the interim head coach. They were up 14-0. It was like, oh my gosh, are the Raiders going to do it? Are they going to upset the Chiefs? Absolutely killed the rest of that game. 31-3 the rest of the game. Just, it is what it is. He's a rah-rah guy. Just not a head coach guy, it feels like. And the Saints at 23, pathetic. 400 yards of offense, no touchdowns. Typical Derek Carr. Like, it's just all sorts of bad in New Orleans. You throw a pick 6. You keep turning the ball over. The defense gets absolutely gashed by the Falcons. So I'm not that impressed with them. But let's get into it. Our middle tier teams 22 through 16. Okay, staying on trend here. Tampa Bay at 22. Bad loss to the Colts. They kind of tried to fight back again. It's not them. The NFC South is a dumpster fire. Atlanta up here at 21. I put all 3 of those NFC South teams in a row here. They're currently in first place at 5-5. They have the head-to-head against against New Orleans. It's going to be a interesting finish. One of these teams has to host a home playoff game. I think it's going to be the Falcons. I like the Falcons at the beginning of the season. Run of the football finally. Bijan Robinson, welcome to the NFL. Feels like we haven't seen you all season. A monster day for the Falcons as a whole. Bengals at 20. Look, the Bengals season is over. It kind of sucks. Jake Browning's 2 best passes were off of tipped balls by the Steelers, and they kind of went for big plays. I feel bad for Jamar Chase. I feel bad for this team. They're not a competitive threat to anybody anymore down the stretch. The Chargers at 19, God, vault Brandon Staley into the sun. How much more of this do we have to see? They turned the ball over 4 times, and they still find a way to charger this thing up. They were only down 3 points. They had the ball. Justin Herbert's kind of turned into a guy who's not going to get it done down the stretch in crunch time situations. I don't know what to do with this Chargers team except maybe go get Bill Belichick and hopefully he can fix this because it's just a dumpster fire of a culture. Green Bay up to 18, big win on Thanksgiving at Detroit, right back into the playoff hunt, only a half a game out of that last wild card spot. And the NFC wild card, their schedule is not tough, Green Bay. They got to play Kansas City, but it's at home this week. And other than that, it's a lot of nobodies, bottom teams in the NFL. They could easily find a way into one of those last two playoff spots, because I think 9 wins is getting you in the NFC. You might even get in at 8 and 9. I think the bottom of the NFC playoff hunt are just not good football teams whatsoever. Colts at 17 here. Oh man, look at the Colts. Second place in the division, 6-5 in that AFC playoff hunt. Who would have guessed it? Congratulations, Shane Steichen not getting talked about enough. Gardner Minshew is a 500 quarterback. If you take out the Urban Meyer year, he's a 500 quarterback in his career as a starter. Pretty good sample size too. It's like 25, 26 games, something like that. Really good for him. I mean, look at this. This team is just competitive. They can move the football. They can score. They can rush the passer. Secondary's not abysmal. It's just kind of like an average-ass team that's right in the playoff hunt. Rams at 16. Love what I saw from the Rams this weekend. I know they're playing the Cardinals. I know the Cardinals are bad, but they lit it up. Stafford, 4 touchdown passes. Again, welcome back to that. He looked awesome. Kyron Williams coming off the IR. A huge, huge game. 200-plus all-purpose yards, 2 touchdowns for him. Rams, another super sneaky team at the bottom of this NFC playoff hunt that could find themselves back into it. They already have the tiebreaker over Seattle with the 2 head-to-head wins, so they just got to keep winning games. The Seahawks could be in real, real trouble when it comes down the stretch just because of the schedules, man. Schedules make all the difference in the world down the stretch at this point when there's 5-6 games left for everybody. But let's get to what everyone came here for, your top 15 teams. All right, number 15, got my Vikings here at 15. 2 atrocious losses for this football team. I mean, you're -3 in the turnover battle in both games. Your defense gives up 1 touchdown in 2 games, and you're 0-2 in that stretch. Look, the Josh Dobbs mania is gone. They finally get a bye. They're worn out. They're tired. They need that bye. They're going to get one of the best wide receivers in the game back, if not the best, in Justin Jefferson, which is really going to help this offense. The offense has been abysmal. I think you have to bench Dobbs. You go with Nick Mullins. You go with rookie Jaron Hall. Dobbs is just not a good thrower of the football, particularly in the pocket, and he's not looking to change the game with his legs anymore. Teams are just kind of keeping him in there. Let him go. Just a pathetic move by the head coach, O'Connell, not pulling them. And after the 3rd pick, you just kind of had to bench him tonight. Defense not getting the critical stops when they needed to down the stretch to win that game. That's 2 game-winning drives in back-to-back weeks they've given up. But with Jefferson coming back, with potential for quarterback change, I think this offense can get it going. And the defense getting rest, getting healthier is really going to help it. A soft schedule down the stretch if Detroit's already locked up this division. They got to play Vegas, Cincinnati, Detroit, Green Bay, and Detroit again. So it's not the hardest of schedules. If you can manage to get 2 wins, 3 wins, that's going to get you into the playoffs. Like I said, 8 or 9 wins getting you in the NFC, because this team kind of has to make the playoffs because they're in no man's land right now. All right, the longest winning streak in the NFL continues for the Denver Broncos. 1-5 to start the season, roll off 5 in a row, find themselves at 6-5 and right in the thick of this AFC playoff hunt. And the schedule in front of them, not difficult. They play the Chargers twice. They still got to play Vegas. They play teams in front of them. I think this is setting up perfect for the Broncos to sneak into one of those last AFC playoff spots. Look, Russell Wilson was not bad to start the season. The defense was historically like the worst defense ever. But Russell Wilson was not the problem with this team. And he seems to be getting better and better each and every week. They dismantled this Browns team. I don't know how this defense turned around. I have a little suspicion. It's 2 weeks in a row we're getting illegal hits on quarterbacks. Sean Payton might have the bounty program back. Let's get back into it. A lot of dirty hits on this defense, but they turned up. They got rid of the old guys, but they put the young, dirty guys in. They keep making plays. They keep hurting quarterbacks. It's a winning formula for Sean Payton. He knows what to do. I'm not joking here. It's what he does. So the Denver Broncos, one of the hottest teams, if not the hottest team in the NFL, with a soft schedule. I think they just do a lot of good things right. You hurt the opposing team's quarterback. Russell Wilson's taking care of the football. He's starting to push the ball downfield more. He's got an awesome weapon in Sutton. And Judy is sometimes good when he shows up. and they can run the football with Javonte Williams and Samaje Perine. This is a well-balanced offensive attack to pair with this defense that God knows what is going on with them, but they're turning people over and they're getting stops. So Broncos here at 14. Okay, this is where the list gets tricky. I don't love any of these teams. Couldn't, it's just like, you got to put them somewhere. I got the Seahawks at 13. Look, it was very clear how much better the 49ers were than the Seattle Seahawks. Short week on the road. They dominated that game. Now, Purdy throws the pick six. You have some life. You have some belief. But I've been saying it all year. It's very clear that Geno Smith is not the guy at quarterback. Kenneth Walker down. Charbonnet was just kind of like whatever. He's a rookie. I can expect him to carry the load for them. They have good playmakers at wide receiver. JSN, Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf. It's just Geno Smith. He doesn't get rid of the football. He holds onto the ball way too long. This defense, they've been gashed. They've been beaten through the air. They're good against bad offenses, but when push comes to shove against good offensive teams, you can move the ball against this defense. You can go get points if you have to. I just think the ceiling is like maybe they get into the playoffs. But like I said, they still got to play the Niners again. They got to play the Cowboys. They got to play the Eagles. The schedule is hell for the Seattle Seahawks. They may not get to 8 wins. They may not get to 9 wins. I don't know what's going to happen with this team. I think the schedule is going to play a critical role with this. They could win those games, but with no Kenneth Walker, Geno Smith being what Geno Smith has been his entire career except for last year, I just don't see this team going anywhere. Okay, number 12, I got the Buffalo Bills here at 12. I wanted to put them down more, just like the Seahawks, but it's like, okay, we saw why we liked the Bills. Like, okay, the Bills are back. Dominated 2.25 of the game yesterday, like 2.5 quarters, dominated the Eagles. They were moving the football. They were shutting down Hurts in the offense. I mean, Hurts couldn't complete a pass. I mean, they couldn't do anything, Philadelphia. And the Bills, 10-point lead, felt like they were going to win this game in the second half. 2 10-point leads. They just couldn't get it done. Josh Allen was clearly the best player on the field, has the killer pick, though, lets the Eagles take the lead, comes right back down, gets the touchdown. Jake Elliott kicks a 59-yard field goal. You question, are the Eagles just magical or are the Bills cursed? Then Allen wins the toss, gets the ball, and he misses a wide-open Gabe Davis for the game winner in overtime. Now, Davis made the wrong adjustment on his route. It was an option route, and he could have undercut it. Allen threw it kind of short and inside, and Davis kept it going. He's wide open either way. You got to get that connection, guys. The defense fell apart in the second half. They're beat up. We know they're not very talented. Sean McDermott taking a knee with 20 seconds left, and your offense has been awesome in the game. You got to give him a shot, especially after you lost the 13-second game to Kansas City. It's a defensive head coach. He's got to go. They got to get something fresh in Buffalo. They're 6-6. I don't think they're getting in the playoffs. The schedule is way too tough down the stretch. They still got to play the elite teams of the NFL. I just don't see Buffalo getting it done. So Bills here at number 12. Okay, number 13. Got the Browns here at 13, down 3 spots. Look, Cleveland got punched in the mouth early against Denver, and the defense really isn't used to it, but the defense could have been exhausted, man. Sometimes you just get grinded into a pulp and you can't do anything. You know, they've been playing a lot of snaps. Their offense hasn't been good for them all year. They lose their quarterback. PJ Walker comes back in. He's statistically the worst rated quarterback in the NFL by a good bit of margin. They aren't able to run the ball. The game's close. You lose Myles Garrett in this game. I just think that it's mounting against this Browns defense. Now, is their defense good enough to win them 2 games, 3 games, and get them in the postseason? Yeah, probably. They don't have a very tough schedule ahead of them, but this offense is so abysmal. It's so bad, especially with PJ Walker in at quarterback. I just don't know if the Browns are going to do it. Somebody has to get into the postseason in the AFC. Now, the Browns, they have a game lead. They're in an okay spot. I just can't trust this offense. This offense is terrible. It's awful. It's like the worst offense on a good team ever. It might be worse than the Steelers' offense. I don't know. It might be. We can't tell. The defense is great. I just think they're tired. I don't think they're going to be able to keep this up. The defense has to win them every game, every week, it feels like. All in all, it's been a heroic effort, I think, from this Browns unit. I think it's just going to all kind of fall apart here down the stretch, especially if you don't have DTR. he was a downgrade from Watson, but it didn't feel like too much of a downgrade. But PJ Walker feels like a steep downgrade from DTR. He just misses way too many open throws. He can't connect with guys, and this offense is predicated on making the few open throws you have to make. So Browns here at number 11. Okay, Pittsburgh up here at 10. I really didn't know. I'm not a huge fan of teams 9 through like 15 at all right now, but Pittsburgh gets a win. They play a terrible Bengals team, but they finally have a 400-yard game on offense. You scored one touchdown, but it's like, okay, we got the yards. We didn't score any points or anything like that, but it was a nice adjustment and nice to see now that Matt Canada is out. I think the vibes are just better in Pittsburgh. They win all these games. It's always ugly. The defense makes some plays. The defense gets some stops. The offense scores when it have to. You really can't explain the Steelers. It's kind of like the fraud that you know is a fraud, like the Vikings last year, like the Steelers before that. They're going to win football games. You're not at all threatened by them in the postseason. But there's something to be said about Tomlin and getting his team ready and having his team believing they're going to win every football game. Deontay Johnson, though, like why does he always have these knucklehead receivers? Should be vaulted off into the sun. That's my new spot to send people. Like, he's not even trying anymore. Lets a fumble go, no effort. It's just like, how does he always get these knuckleheads? How does he always draft these guys? Can't Mike Tomlin have some hardworking, just nose to the grindstone wide receivers? No, he always got a bunch of goofballs out there. But the offense looked better. I love seeing Warren get the more touches. Najee Harris even looked more like invigorated, less predictable play calling. The Bengals defense isn't bad, like by any stretch, but now you pair that with like not a good Bengals offense. We'll have to see where this thing goes for Pittsburgh, but I think Pittsburgh's going to get in because they just find a way to keep winning football games. Okay, number 9. This was a hard one for me. Houston Texans at 9, man. Like, I know they're in third place in their division. They're tied for second, but they're in third to the tiebreaker. This is a fun football team to watch. They played even with the Jaguars, who I think is a very good football team. They were back and forth with them. There's some bad calls go their way. They get the benefit of some penalties. The referees are just trash, as always, as I always say. But CJ Stroud is the man right now. CJ Stroud, top 10 quarterback? I mean, for the guys that left, I absolutely think so. He's making great plays. He's moving the pocket when they can't get protection. He's extending plays. He's finding his guys downfield. Tank Dell, Nico Collins, a really elite combo. Tank Dell, CJ Stroud, tied for the most rookie quarterback wide receiver touchdowns in a season. It's a magical connection, guys. Talking about it. Texans defense, not the best, but they do a good job stopping the run. They're just not great at finishing off games, getting stops when you need to. Gave up a couple of big plays. They had a huge stop before the half from Jacksonville, but look, 58-yard kick goes right off the crossbar. If not, we're going to overtime, and maybe the Texans win that game when we're talking about a first-place Texans team with the tiebreaker against the Jaguars. So I think this is a really fun team. They're in the mix in the AFC wildcard. I think this is a team that's going to get in. Not a very tough schedule, obviously, with that fourth-place schedule they're playing. But I think this is a good football team. They're at least fun to watch. If they're not good, they're definitely flawed. But they're fun to watch. They're going to be competitive each and every week. And I think they got another 3 wins in them to close out this season and maybe get themselves into a wild card spot. All right, Jags here at number 8. I've liked what I've seen overall the last 2 weeks with the Jags. They get blown out by Frisco, but they'd won the 5 previous. They now win 2 in a row. They're looking good. Trevor Lawrence looking a lot better. He's still a little slow on his reads. I'm starting to see what people are talking about. You're watching the All-22. He's missing reads a little bit. He's not making great calls on the defense, but it's getting better. Finally finding Calvin Ridley. That's a connection that we needed to see more of all season. We got 3 touchdowns in 2 weeks. Lawrence, only pick of the day. I mean, Ingram got mugged. Should not have been an interception. When you tackle and hold the tight end, and he's throwing to the tight end, and he can't get to his spot because of it, it happens. Now, the calls all evened out. They got some calls their way on the next drive. Like I said, this offense, it's just kind of a little herky-jerky, not great. Now, they lose Cam Robinson. That's a loss at tackle. They have Ezra Cleveland, who they traded for from Minnesota, filled in, did a nice job filling in, but offensive line's been the weak point of this team. Defense, sometimes they're good, sometimes they're not. We just don't know with the Jags defense. They force turnovers. They make plays. They make life a little difficult for you. I don't know week to week. I wish the Jags were way more way more consistent. I'm a big consistency guy, and the Jags just haven't shown it. I think they got a clear path now to winning this division, hosting a home playoff game against kind of like, I don't know, Pittsburgh or Cleveland, who doesn't have a quarterback. Now, any of those teams can maybe beat you, making the game ugly, and Jags are a team that will let you make it ugly. But this should be a Jacksonville team. They are a dark horse for the 1 seed in the AFC. They're right up there with Kansas City and Baltimore, and the schedule's a lot easier. So if the Jags can somehow get this 1 seed, get a bye, that means they're playing really good ball. Jags could be very dangerous and a sleeper Super Bowl team. Okay, at 7, I got the Dolphins here at 7. Look, not a great performance, not an awful performance against the Jets on Black Friday. Look, a pick six killer. Only way that you could have lost that game was turning the ball over. Had another pick before the half, but who knew that pick would have turned into a pick six for you on the Hail Mary? So it all worked out for them. They do lose Phillips, their best pass rusher for the year, with a torn Achilles. That's a big, big blow to this team. They did just pick up Jason Pierre-Paul, who's going to help add some depth off the practice squad of the Saints. But man, that's a killer blow for a team that you didn't really believe in anyway. You didn't think they were that physical. The offense is high-flying, all-powerful. Tyreek Hill, maybe he's got a dark horse MVP shot. He could definitely break Calvin Johnson's record. He's on an absolute tear. But if the things aren't clicking all the way, it's just like, what are the Dolphins now? They got to get Achane healthy. They got to keep running Mostert, keep softening up these things. He remembered Jalen Waddle plays for his team. I almost forgot. Him and Waddle finally having some connections. Tyreek's the man. You find Waddle. It's really tough for defensive secondaries to stop those two guys. You turn in the run game. Maybe the offensive line's getting a little bit better. That'll help you out, because the big question is, can the Dolphins beat anybody good? We haven't seen it yet. They haven't been able to deal with physical teams, good football teams. Defense is definitely better than where they were to start the season. They really, really helps getting Ramsey back. You pair him with Howard. It makes life tough for the opposing wide receivers to get open. So the Dolphins are interesting, but it just feels like another team that it's like, okay, they're going to get in the playoffs. They're going to win the division, but can they really make a Super Bowl run? I have to see it. Okay, number 6, got the Lions here at 6, dropping them 2 spots. Look, you can't lose that game at home on Thanksgiving. They've now lost 7 in a row on Thanksgiving. When everything seems to be going right and going the Lions' way, they still can't even get a win on Thanksgiving. I feel bad for their fans. They thought they were going to finally enjoy a holiday. But look, this secondary and defense has been absolutely exposed the last 2 weeks. You can throw against this team. They don't get to the quarterback. Aiden Hutchinson all alone. You just chip them a little bit. They're not getting to the quarterback. Secondary getting cooked left and right. It's a real, real concern. Detroit didn't make the moves at the deadline for a team that's trying to go get it this year, but you can't play like that. You got to go get it every year. I think this team would have been good enough. You're going to get a home playoff game. You could have had a shot at the 1 seed, and you just never know what happens. Now you're going to lose your offensive coordinator to a head coaching gig, and God knows what's going to happen. But the division should be a lock. A loss by Minnesota essentially all but clinches this thing for the Lions. They have a massive lead in the division with not many games left to play, obviously. So they're going to get a home playoff game. They're going to get a bad NFC team in the wild card spot. So they're probably going to find themselves in the divisional round. But Jared Goff's turning the ball over way too much, and that's been a problem. They got to get these turnovers under control. They haven't been able to run the ball as effectively as they had earlier in the season. They got to get that figured out. They still got a good offense. They still got good receivers, but it's just not crisp. It's not clean. And they got a defense that leaves a lot to be desired. So Dolphins, Lions, and this next team kind of feel on the same spot. They're going to win, but can they win a divisional round game? Could they actually make a run to the Super Bowl? All right, I got the Cowboys up a spot here at number 5, but I'm going to call a spade a spade. The Cowboys have not beaten a single team with a winning record this year. That's not good enough. They get the Seahawks on Thursday, who do have a winning record. That'll be their best win. They're going to beat the Seahawks team. Look, they blow out teams. They blow out teams at home. The bad teams stand no shot against this Cowboys team, because if they're up 10, they're going to win the game by 30. Now, if they're down 10, they got no shot. That's the problem with this Cowboys team. Dak and CeeDee Lamb has been an awesome connection. They've been carving up people. Deron Bland sets the NFL record in most big sixes. The defense always gets a touchdown when they're pouring it on. It's like clockwork with this team. They don't have a real test the rest of the season. The schedule is soft. They got the Eagles again at home. Obviously, they're not going to be enough to win the division. Now, they needed the Bills to win that game against the Eagles. Now, you beat the Eagles, you're feeling good. I'm liking their improved chances in the playoffs. You lose to the Eagles again, it's the same old Cowboys. They got the Lions the second to last week of the season. Another team in the same tier with them at home in primetime. That's another game I need to see the Cowboys show up, show out for, get a W, because that's the biggest thing with this Cowboys team. They can be bad teams. They're going to blow out bad teams. It's when they get to those teams with winning records, teams at the top of the NFL, they just kind of always run out of gas, and we know who they are. So Cowboys gonna go play an NFC South team, go kick the piss out of them again, and then they're gonna go to Philadelphia or San Francisco, and that's gonna be their season. Can they beat one, if not both of those teams to get themselves a Super Bowl? Okay, I got a lot of flack for keeping the Ravens down last week, and I didn't see anything that wants me to really put the Ravens up. They go up a spot here because the Lions lost. But guys, 4 turnovers against the Chargers, one of the worst pass defenses in the NFL. And guess what? The Ravens can't throw the football. Who would have guessed? No Mark Andrews. This is exactly what I'm talking about. They can't throw the football without Mark Andrews. They struggled to move the ball. They didn't even run enough. I don't know why they're not giving the ball to Mitchell. Like, Gus Edwards is solid, but Mitchell is a lightning bolt out of the backfield. Get him more touches. Get him on the edge. Make people pay for playing the defenses they're starting to play against you, because they don't respect the passing game. They don't really respect the outside running game. And the offense, like, you got to show me more. And honestly, I would have easily told you Harbaugh is one of the best coaches in the league. But man, he struggles. He let the Chargers hang around. I didn't love at all what they did, the Ravens. Like, just kind of letting the Chargers hang around, let them hang around. They really should have lost this game. Don't let that 10-point win and cover fool you. Chargers had the ball down 3. Now, that being said, this defense is elite, maybe the best defense in the NFL. They put the clamps on a Chargers offense who's been hot as of late. They really did a good job. They make your life a living hell. Not a lot of flashiness to them. They turn you over. They beat you up physically. It's kind of an old school Ravens type of defense without those flashy superstar guys, but they're as good as it gets in this league. Now, we've seen them falter in a couple of spots down the stretch. That's what I want to see more of. Can they get pushed? Because the Chargers are always going to charger. Not going to take a whole lot out of this game, but they're right in the race for that AFC 1 seed. I just think losing Mark Andrews is really, really going to hurt this team, but they have 5 weeks now, 6 weeks now to figure out this offense, get things working, pass the ball, get the passing game more involved. I loved what they did with Zay Flowers, getting him the ball, even on the end round for that last touchdown. Big fan of that. We just got to find a way to get the ball out, soften up those defenses. I'm even a fan of having Lamar run the football more, run more play action, have him boot out, make defenses worry about you. They ran a 4th and 1. They turned the ball over, and Lamar's not even in the backfield. Dude, you can hand the ball off, but at least have Lamar under center. Make defenses respect him. He's an absolute weapon out there, and I just don't know. I think it's kind of hardball. He's not good down the stretch. They have 1 playoff win since 2014. Like, that's not good. That is not good for a guy who was coming off a Super Bowl win in 2012. So Ravens here at number 4. I just need to see more from this team. I'm not liking what I'm seeing whatsoever. Okay, number 3, I got the Niners here at 3. Very solid win on Thanksgiving, short week on the road, division opponent, took care of business. Look, the Niners are healthy, and are the Niners the best team in the NFL when they're healthy? Quite possibly. Brock Purdy, Mr. Efficient, did have a pick 6, not good, but he distributes the football. You get the ball to your playmakers. They make plays. You got Debo, you got Kittle, you got McCaffrey, you got Ayuk. It's just playmaker after playmaker. They make the defense's life a living hell. The offensive line blocks it up for them. So the Niners are just like, yeah, they're awesome. Defense playing a lot better. Man, who would have guessed trading for Trace Young is really helping this pass rush. They're starting to really get after the quarterback. They made Geno's life miserable. I think they had 5 sacks, maybe 6 against the Seahawks. Just a huge, huge performance from them. And look, Tre'Davious Ward is like, he's going to make plays. He's going to get burned. He makes big plays sometimes, man, and that's going to really help. If you had a secondary that's going to make plays when they have to make plays, that's the worst part of this football team is their secondary. If that unit starts playing well, man, I don't know how you beat the Niners. Now, we're really going to get to see the Niners. They're going to Philadelphia this week. This is a rematch in the NFC Championship game. There's been no love lost between these teams, talking about if Purdy doesn't get hurt, they're the ones in Arizona last February and not the Eagles. I'm ready for it. I'm hyped. I think this is going to be a slugfest. If the Niners win this game in Philadelphia, I don't know who's going to beat them. Now, it's hard to beat a team twice. You beat the Eagles. Maybe they get you in the rematch. It's hard to beat a team twice. But this Niners team feels like they're really close. Definitely in that Super Bowl bubble. I would be surprised if they didn't get to the NFC Championship game. This is just elite at like every unit on offense and every unit on defense, basically. They're just like a force to be reckoned with, and they feel like a man on a mission. We've seen Super Bowl teams in the past go on a little bit of a losing streak, turn it around, and that could exactly be what the Niners are doing. All right, I got the Chiefs here at number 2. Huge bounce back spot after that second half collapse against the Eagles, not scoring a single point. And it looked like the sky was falling. Down 14-0 to the Raiders. What's going on? Mahomes is broken. Taylor Swift cursed the Chiefs. Not so fast. Chiefs turn it on, 3 straight touchdown drives. Mahomes is lights out, and they get this offense back rolling. I thought this might be a get-right spot for the Chiefs, and boy, did they get right. Loved what I saw from them. They got the ball out to their receivers. Rashee Rice, finally, get him the ball. He can actually catch it. The other receivers decided to catch it too. Maybe no Kadarius Toney helped this offense out. He's a crazy person. Maybe him not being out there helps the team out a lot. I just don't know. I feel a whole lot better. McCall Hardman goes on the IR. Maybe they needed to get rid of some of these pieces and get some fresh blood out there. Loved what I saw from them offensively. They look like the old Chiefs, and they control their destiny. If they win out, they win the AFC. So Chiefs got a tough schedule a little bit in front of them, but loved what I saw from them. And this defense, look, 14 straight against the Raiders, not great. Is the sky falling? Nope. Tighten up the screws, lock it down, 3 points the rest of the game. Elite unit, they know what they're doing. Andy Reid's going to get this thing figured out. Those that doubted the Chiefs, going to keep on doubting. I think we're going to get another AFC Championship game in Arrowhead. Maybe not. Could be wrong. There's some stiff competition out there. Just like, I'm not going to go down betting against the Chiefs. It's like betting against Tom Brady. You're going to lose 9 times out of 10. Cool, you got it right the one time. This is not going to be the time to bet against the Chiefs. I think this is the best defensive unit Mahomes has ever had in his life, ever. That's really going to help them work through these things, get the ball, get the receivers. They just got to stop thinking about it. Just go play football, boys. You can catch a football. It's really not that difficult. I know it's a little bit difficult, but it ain't that difficult, guys. So I think this was a great spot for the Chiefs here. Clearly one of those top contenders. And I just don't want to go down betting against Mahomes and the Chiefs. Okay, number 1, what do you say about the Philadelphia Eagles? They just win football games. Look, they keep teasing us week in and week out. It feels like they have this entire arsenal, this massive explosion of dominating defense, unstoppable offense, and they keep only giving us little glimpses here and there. And maybe we'll never see the entire thing. But right now, the Eagles, they just win football games. Look, a horrible first half. They couldn't move the football. They couldn't really stop they couldn't stop the Bills. Now, they couldn't stop the Bills really much in the second half either, but Jalen Hurts in the offense, they just turn it on. Jalen Hurts, who would have guessed? I don't know if he's the second best quarterback in the NFL, but he's definitely the second best quarterback I want in a one-score game, getting the ball. He just has that clutch factor to him, he just finds ways to win football games. Was there any doubt they were going to get into field goal range? And shout out to Elliott. Maybe he's the best kicker in the league right now. He's the guy. I mean, 59 yards in the pouring rain and wind. That's one of the most impressive field goal makes in all of NFL history, I got to say. Ties the game up. They go to overtime. They don't get the ball first. They only give up the field goal. And then was there ever a doubt that Hurts was going to walk down the field and he was going to score the game-winning touchdown? Not for a second. Good offensive line. No Lane Johnson is a concern. They struggled blocking up the Bills there, and they're kind of not great when Lane Johnson's out. Need him to get healthy. Huge matchup with the Niners this week and that newly invigorated pass rush. But look, great wide receivers. A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, probably number one pairing in the league. They're just so versatile, so explosive. They need to get Goddard back. Just having that extra weapon helps. They can run the football. Defense doesn't quite get after the quarterback like they're used to. I think this team is vulnerable to mobile quarterbacks like we saw with Allen, creating time, getting out into space. The secondary is not really that good, but you can't run on the Eagles, so it's basically you got to pass or you got no shot, and that's what you want to do. If you're a defense that knows the team has to pass against you, you can figure things out. So the Eagles here at number one, they keep teasing us. We may never see it, but they got an inside track, should get the bye, should be hosting everything to the NFC Championship game, and that place feels like a nightmare to play off. But let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Who am I too high on? Who am I too low on? Am I underselling the Ravens? I know the Ravens fans aren't happy with me. What about the Jags and the Texans? Maybe the Jags are that sleeper team that can go get this run done. And what am I going to do with the bottom of the NFC and the bottom of the AFC getting into the wild card spot? Does anybody have any idea who's getting in? It's a whole lot of crap down there. Let me know what you guys think. If you haven't already, hit that like button, hit that thumbs up. Really helps the channel out a lot. Helps this video out. Helps us in the YouTube algorithm. If you haven't, click that subscribe button. We got new sports content every single day. If you want to support the channel more, click that join button. Join the channel memberships. Helps me out a lot. Allows me to keep making this great content for you guys every single day. You get access to early content, exclusive content, cool badges, emojis, things to use for the live streams throughout the season. It's a lot of fun. Again, if you haven't already, like, subscribe, and share, and I'll see you all tomorrow.